Okay, where we left off was with the Ovation Guitar. We need to make a new bridge for it. Here's the original bridge, and you can see that when they routed out the slot for the saddle, first of all, it wasn't even routed evenly. This end obviously was routed completely out, and they left wood in this area. When I make the new one, I'm going to leave wood all the way across there to help strengthen it. So I ordered in this blank of ebony, and what I'm going to do, it's much bigger than I need, so I'm going to slice a piece out of here big enough to make this, and we'll just go to town. I'll show you the process on how to make this. This is going to be a tough one to make, I have to tell you, because the strings mount through the bridge here. There's holes in the top, but they don't go through the bottom. They come out the back side here. We're here at the bandsaw, and I've got the fence set up. I have to raise the guard up pretty high to get the fence close enough because it's a tall fence. It's going to work out where I can probably get two bridges out of this piece of ebony. I have it set as just about the center of the board, and it's thick enough where I've still got a little clearance here. Should be able to go through my little sander there and bring it down to the right thickness. We're going to go very slowly through this because it's a very hard piece of wood. I've got a fairly new blade in here, so it should cut okay. I forgot to turn on my dust collector, so I'm going to turn that on because this is creating quite a cloud of dust. I'm also going to be wearing my respirator. The first thing I did was I flattened this edge really good on the belt sander so that it's good and straight and flat and square. Then I set it down on the edge of the table, and I laid the bridge next to it there, and I traced around this. This will be the top surface of the bridge here. It's the rough sawed edge right now, but we'll clean that up anyway. And I took a dull pencil and traced around it so that I would have a very wide pencil mark there. When I saw this out, I'm actually going to leave a hair of daylight on the outside of that pencil mark. Okay, I'm turning the dust collector on, and I'm putting on my mask. Okay, I'm going to test the thickness of this with my dial calipers, and it says that in about the thickest place here it is 0.382. So I think I'm just going to make it 400 thousandths thick, at least at the beginning, and just see how that goes. You've seen my homemade thickness sander before, and this is the perfect thing to get this exactly the thickness that we want. We're 440 thousandths, which isn't that bad. We just got to take off 40 thousandths. So I'll start by this back side is smooth. The side that's going down is already pretty smooth. So I'll leave that as my flat surface. Knock off all the high spots on this first and get this good and flat. Then I'll run the back side through it one time, and then we'll finally take it down to the final finish. Okay, measuring it with my dial calipers, we have 15 thousandths to go. We are exactly on the mark at 400 thousandths. So that thing is very, very accurate if you learn how to use it. Okay, we're all set up over here at the drill press, and I've made myself a square blank of 2x4 here to act as my fence. I've got the old bridge lined up with the bottom side or the back side of the bridge against the fence. I lined up the right size drill bit and I set my depth stop to go the depth of the old hole. So we should be good. Okay, I've got the old bridge and the new blank clamped together. I've got them flat on the drill press table surface, and now I'm going to use the square to just line up the holes. That way they'll be pretty darn accurate. Hopefully you can see the lines there that I've squared right across from the old holes. Now all we've got to do is turn on the drill press and drill the holes. That did a really nice job. So all those holes are drilled to the same depth as they were on the bridge, on the old bridge. And now we'll work on machining maybe the top holes, because I think it's still going to be easier to do this while everything's flat and square. I doubt this will be close enough that you can see it, but what I'm doing is I'm taking the old bridge, putting it up against this flat square surface. These holes are drilled at an angle. I found the drill bit that looks like it's the right size. I can hold it with my thumb there and it doesn't move. It's right up against that angle. So that's a good way to measure the angle, I believe. So I've got this flush up against here. I've got the drill bit in there, and then I drop my angle gauge on it, and it says exactly 60 degrees. So that gives me something to shoot for, exactly 60 degrees. Okay, we've got a really elaborate setup here to make this work. We've already established that the angle of this hole is 60 degrees. Well, as you know, if you're a woodworker, none of your tools tilt to 60 degrees. So the table saw doesn't, the bandsaw doesn't, so 45 is about it. But it will go to 30. Well, 30 is the opposite of the 60, so what I did was I cut a 30-degree angle on this block. And when I lean this up against there and square it up here, then I bring the drill down. I can set my depth stop to the depth of the hole. So I've got the depth stop set. Double check that actually. And if you're really into this, you'll notice that I'm not really using a drill bit. I'm using a milling machine cutter. And I just happen to have a small milling machine. This is a 1/4-inch cutter. This won't flex like a drill bit will. This is much stiffer. So, and it's got flat bottom on it. So it'll cut a nice flat bottom hole straight down and should work just fine. What I did was I put a fence back here that's permanent, so I can slide this whole thing across here The only thing I have to line up then is the vertical marks on this. Once I get the vertical marks lined up, I just bring the drill down and everything will be the same. The only regret I've got is that I cut this round edge off of here. I wish I had left that square. It would be much easier to drill these holes. So what I'm going to do to fix that is I'm going to put double stick tape on here and stick this thing to it so it shouldn't move on me too much, you know, and that double stick tape's pretty strong stuff. Okay, I've got the part stuck to it with double stick tape. It doesn't seem like it's going to move on me too much. I'll still be very leery of that. I'm going to start with a center hole so it doesn't have as much, you know, I'll get the feel of it better before I get out on these edges where it wants to push down. And we'll see how this goes. Okay, I've got the drill sped up to a pretty high speed, and the only thing I've got to do now is get down here and look at it from this angle and make sure I see my lines and center it on my line. Otherwise, everything else should be the same. Here we go. That worked better than expected. And just in case you're wondering whether that double stick tape holds or not, I can't even pry it off with this knife. Okay, what we're going to do here is, this is the top of the bridge, and we know about how thick we need these outside ends. I'm just going to take the saw and saw in a short distance, about an inch on each side, and then I'll worry about getting the rest of that wood removed here in a minute. Now I'm just going to saw that off. It's going to leave a square edge, but that's okay. I've got a way to get rid of that. Okay, we've got a pretty squared up bridge there now. It's all looking pretty good. Now we just got to bring this down, and I can do that on my thickness sander. We'll show you how we do that.